Hey everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to be discussing a theory I have for Strike Back about whether or not Felix will betray Ladybug, because right now, I think he could. We all know his morality is a bit skewed, as he's definitely an anti-hero, as he hasn't told anyone yet about what he found out in episode 9 or in episode 25. If Alia had learned the information Felix had, she would have told Ladybug straight away, no questions asked, but Felix seems to be waiting until it benefits him to do something with it, which I think will happen in Strike Back. So, as we know, Felix, but looking like Adrian, is on his way to London on the Star Train, and we also know Ladybug is planning to go and get him. However, we saw this spoiler a while ago now, but I think it's safe to say that this is definitely Felix with the fake Peacock Miraculous, and also presumably looking at Natalie's tablet, which we also know he stole from her in Risk. And I would assume he's possibly looking for instructions on how to use the Miraculous, and the translated grimoire is probably on her tablet too. However, the Miraculous isn't real, so therefore doesn't work, and I think this could be Felix punching something out of frustration. And this will be the point at which Ladybug arrives. Now, he possibly could or could not have taken the fake Miraculous off at this point, but if he hasn't, Felix, or who Ladybug thinks is Adrian, could pretend to have just found it, and maybe also show her the tablet and what's on it, and tell her something is suspicious about Daddy Agreste and Natalie. As Felix is an anti-hero, he is now using the secrets he knows to his own personal advantage, but because Ladybug believes this to be Adrian, who she knows would never do anything wrong, she will believe him. I think at this point Felix could betray his uncle and Natalie to save himself, but it's also not like they ever asked him to be on this side or to keep this a secret. I don't know what they were expecting. Felix quite clearly is in this for himself. Why wouldn't he betray them? Ladybug takes Felix back to Paris and gives him the dog Miraculous so he can help in the fight. However, when I say Felix will betray Ladybug, I don't think this means he'll become the next hawkmoth. He doesn't even live in the same country. The UK isn't that far away from France. I would know. I live here, and on top of that, Felix doesn't really have the motivation to be hawkmoth. Like, don't get me wrong, I think he'd be a great hawkmoth, but why would he be? What would he want by combining the Ladybug and cat Miraculouses together? We know his dad is dead, but Felix doesn't seem to want him back the same way Gabriel wants Emily. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm sure Felix is very sad, but he does seem to have moved on with his life, while Gabriel has not, quite clearly. However, that's not to say I don't think Felix won't work with his uncle. As we saw in this spoiler from Gloob of Felix looking like Adrian, as far as we can see, Felix is only wearing the Peacock Miraculous, not the Butterfly Miraculous. As we know in Risk, whether or not you like the Senti-monster theory, it was heavily hinted at that Adrian was a Senti-monster, and if we go back to episode 9, Daddy Agreste, it was also heavily hinted that Felix was one too. If Felix is also a Senti-monster, it would make sense why he would want the Peacock Miraculous. Yes, he has the ring, which presumably has his Amok in, that way no one can control him. However, as we saw in episode 9, his uncle did threaten to snap him out of existence. Arguably. That scene can be interpreted differently for those of you who are Senti-monster deniers. Felix, if he is a Senti-monster, is not truly safe until he has the Peacock Miraculous, or at the very least until Daddy Agreste doesn't have the Peacock Miraculous, like the dude's a maniac. Although if either boy or both boys are Senti-monsters, I feel like they will both be fine. Ultimately, this show is for kids at the end of the day, so at the very least, they will not kill Adrian as he's the second lead character and everybody loves him. Felix is more likely to die since we don't have a strong emotional connection to him as we've barely seen him. Like, if he was never in the show again, I would not care. If I never saw Adrian again, I would be distraught. He is my son. And so is Mark. Best boys. So with all of that in mind, I think once with the dog Miraculous, Felix could be off to try and find Shadow Daddy. His power in this fight doesn't really seem like he could help defeat Strike Back, so I think Ladybug could task him with trying to find Shadow Daddy and getting his Miraculous with Bark's fetch power. I think Felix could find his uncle, but Gabriel isn't stupid. He won't just let Felix take either of his Miraculouses. Instead, I think Felix could trade the dog Miraculous for the Peacock Miraculous. If he gets the Peacock Miraculous, Felix can destroy Strike Back. Honestly, I don't think the cliffhanger that we know happens in this episode refers to Strike Back being defeated. I think it's to do with some revelation between the characters, something like that. And it also means Gabriel can't snap Felix or Adrian out of existence anymore. This also means Gabriel will no longer be Shadow Daddy. As we know, title the episodes together is the last attack of Shadow Daddy. On first glance, it seems that means Gabriel is defeated. Let's have a party. However, it seems odd they would spoil Gabriel being defeated in the title of the episode, and I think they could be referring to him losing one of his miraculouses. And if he loses one, he will no longer be Shadow Daddy. So it is technically the last attack of Shadow Daddy if he loses a miraculous. Of course, he could give Felix a butterfly miraculous instead, but why would Felix want that one? As far as we know, Felix doesn't wear it on the train. He doesn't really seem to care about it. Having the Peacock miraculous secures his safety. Furthermore, Akumas are like the bread and butter of the show. Each episode, with a few exceptions, for example Megaleech and Optigami, just to name two, are all named after Akumas. I doubt they will have Daddy Agrest give up that miraculous, considering that's what the show is built on. But why would Gabriel want the dog miraculous? Shadow Daddy, or of course, the legend Hawk Daddy, or even better, the style icon that was Shadow Cat Daddy, does not like to leave the house, and I 100% get that, mate, I'm there with you. However, the dog miraculous isn't really something that can be used indoors. The butterfly miraculous and the peacock miraculous's power can be used from a distance, whereas with the dog miraculous, unfortunately, you do actually have to go outside, which is absolutely disgusting. It's horrific. Who even needs direct sunlight? As a result, I don't think Daddy Agrest or Natalie will use it. Gabriel is quite obviously allergic to sunlight, and Natalie is doing something. I don't have a clue how to describe Natalie's current state other than part Terminator. And at this point, I think Gabriel could give the dog miraculous to Lila. As I said, you need to be out and about to use it, not locked away. And even though Lila did absolutely nothing this season, we stand a queen who turns up for football practice when she had no intention of ever playing. Why didn't you just stay at home? I don't know. Lila very much still seems to be working with Gabriel, although it is kind of hard to tell since she's done nothing this season. However, she is now also working with Chloe. And in the episode Miraculous in season 3, Gabriel kind of tells us she has to work with Chloe, which she continues to do in Penalty and in Risk. She's shown Gabriel that she's a good ally and that he can trust her, so I think he'll give the dog miraculous to her, but then she will ultimately betray him in season 5 and become the new hawkmoth. As we know from Time Tagger, Daddy Agrest is not Hawk Daddy in the future. So in conclusion, while Felix does get the Peacock Miraculous, I think he will betray Ladybug because he gives Gabriel the dog miraculous in exchange. As we know, the season's end is meant to be less heroic, and having someone trade miraculouses for their own personal gain, which this would be, isn't really heroic. Felix wouldn't be doing this for Ladybug and for the sake of the city, even if he lies to her and said he had no choice. I think he'll spin it this way to Ladybug and hopefully also reveal himself to be Felix and not Adrian too, and perhaps he'll tell her he's a Senti-monster. As a result, she will vow to keep the Peacock Miraculous safe, and if and when Felix returns to Paris, which I'm sure he will, the Peacock Miraculous will be the one he uses, but he will use it for good to help her. As he's an anti-hero, he kind of straddles that line between good and bad, and is either one depending on what he wants. Strike Back will air on Saturday the 12th of March in English on Disney Channel USA. Do you think Felix will betray Ladybug, besties? I'll see you in the next one.